Welcome to the Roundtable. I am Jennifer Eller, and with me today is my co-host, Mike Hill, and our producer, Nick Wilson. Say hi,
Yay.
Nick. Starting to give him a little bit of credit because he was just in the background, and it takes him to put this together.
Yeah, and we'll have a camera at some point.
We would be
pointed
nothing.
towards him. That way that people can be seeing him so we can ask him questions.
Yeah, maybe. So, and then our guests today are Jordan and Matt Bulmer. Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, so Matt was a little scared on what was the first question I was going to ask. So, really
Are you going to throw him off?
I don't know, but you know what is the stupidest thing you've ever done in life? What should you maybe went to jail for?
That's ironic because I was kind of prepared for this.
You were prepared for the stupidest
but
thing
if my
you've
friend
ever done.
Adam Reese hears this, it's going to go off
You didn't have to say his name.
Well, that's all right. So we used to make pipe bombs at his house and put BBs in them and go to public properties and set them off.
That is awesome. I thought you were going to say you put them in mailboxes. Then the federal government is going to be showing up.
No, but it was still federal properties, but it's okay. It's all good.
The statute of limitations has expired,
It's all
right?
right.
So
It's
we're
all
good.
good. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been like Caleb Hopper. You know, the one time he did so much
yeah.
tannerite that
Right.
it blew out the lights in their house.
Oh my
And
God.
people were calling the sheriff because of they thought something blew up.
Oh my gosh.
Caleb, back in the day they had.
Wow.
So we blow up watermelons and pumpkins and stuff.
Yeah.
Right in the little town of Arcola.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a great idea to do pipe bombs. I mean, they could kill people.
ain't
Yeah,
a big deal.
I mean, the shrapnel, the BBs.
Yeah, the beers.
Yeah.
I'm
Like,
pretty sure I still have one.
So
in
did
my
you
arm.
So were you the guy that went on the internet and tried to figure out how to build one?
Oh no! We knew.
Oh,
You
you
knew.
already.
You just glue one in and
Yeah,
pour in and glue the other end and drill a
Yes.
hole and
Yeah, you
call
don't
it
have to be trained to be a terrorist. You just grow up that way.
Yeah. So
That's good.
So who's your role model then? Who taught you to be this rebel?
I mentioned
You
his
were a
name.
rebel?
Well, it sounds like it.
Yeah, I mentioned his name. So,
Oh, okay,
yeah.
your friend?
Yeah.
Okay. Wasn't any family, it was just your friend.
Yeah. I mean,
He was a bomb acquaintance.
I guess.
Right? Like, he doesn't have to be a friend.
also the youth minister at church. So I mean, it was great. It was a great time.
But your bigger role model was your grandpa.
Yeah, for sure.
And he's actually been gone 2 years now.
Today.
Oh.
So, yep. So, yeah. You open up Facebook and you get that memory that pops up from 2 years ago, and you go, I thought I was doing all right. But,
Yeah.
we're good.
Yeah, and here you are. Okay, Jordan, so what's the craziest thing you've ever done? I guess I gotta ask
She's
you
going to
too.
be nothing. I didn't do anything wrong.
I
Does your mom and dad know?
actually, yes.
Okay.
She kissed a boy in high school.
Yeah, I did not do a lot of bad things growing up because I was very in the lines, and I would have a meltdown if I went out of the lines. The worst.
Oh, wow.
Yes. It just, the way I operated was I had to follow the rules or I was going to go to hell, which is the most ridiculous thing ever. But that's just
Right.
how I operated growing up. The worst thing that I did was I was hanging out with friends and was going to spend the night at their house. And we went and started window chalking cars. It was like Halloween. And it was like, that's literally the craziest thing I've ever done, probably. Well, the cops picked us up because they thought,
for window chalking
yeah,
cars?
because somebody caught us thinking we were trying to steal cars.
Oh.
And so I didn't sleep the entire night. I was just like, I gotta tell my parents. They're gonna.
Were you in jail?
No, they just took me back to the person's house that
okay.
I was staying at, and my parents were like, they laughed at me.
Yeah. So are you still a rule follower?
Yeah, I mean,
Very much.
Yeah.
yeah, I would say so. I've grown a lot since then, but like, Yeah.
Nothing that there's wrong with it. I'm just curious if that's if you're not naturally rebellious.
I'm not at all.
Except if you go on her Instagram, where
Oh,
she's
gosh.
rebelling against all crazy, stupid people and the government.
Yeah, just about.
Yeah.
Just about.
So you're a rebel in a different way.
Very much so.
Yeah. Perfect. And you should go on her Instagram. We might even have a link to it at the end of it so everybody can go see.
That'd be awesome. That'd be awesome.
That's what I'm
Let's do
saying.
it.
Yeah,
Let's
like,
do it. Or just tell everybody what it
Yeah,
is.
my name. If you
yes, put it out there. Yes, because she's already got 42,000 followers. You might as well make it 82,000.
Might as well.
Do it.
if you want to follow me, there's no pressure to this. My name is actually Truth Seeker Farmer's Wife 15.
Really?
Yeah.
And you're putting stuff on all the time. Like I gotta go on there and see this.
Yep.
Okay. Truth Seeker Farmer's Wife.
15.
Oh, 15.
15.
Sorry.
So there's 14 more of you.
No, I
What's
just
the significance
That's
about
weird.
the 15?
Yeah.
that was the year we got married,
Got it.
2015.
Got it.
Normally it's 24 or something.
Yeah.
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 Okay. Okay. So as a family, you have 2 young kids, Keegan and
Macklin.
Yes. So what do you like to do as a family? I know they're little, so it's probably hard.
Well, how's little?
They're 4 and 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, we've done Monster Jam at Lucas Oil before. We
you
did
just go
that
to
last year.
Oh, okay. I know they
Yep.
just had it this weekend.
Last year, yep.
It's
And
this weekend?
Last weekend they had
Yeah,
it.
it was this past weekend.
Okay.
Yeah, but we went a year ago.
Okay.
So, we go to like tractor pulls and demolition.
pulls? What's that?
Tractor pulls?
Oh, tractor pulls.
Tractor pulls. Sorry.
What did you say?
Cracker.
Cracker
pulls?
What's a cracker
Tractor pulls. Sorry. Maybe I stuttered too. I don't know. Tractor
Hey.
pulls.
I'm a little off today, so
It's all right. It's
who
all
knows?
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you pull a tractor?
No, we don't. No. We just go watch them.
You guys are farmers. Don't you have that one tractor sitting around where you can get into the...
Aren't you a farmer? Like
Nope.
it costs money.
No,
Like,
I
big
am
engines?
an animal farmer.
Yeah,
so
that is
we own very little equipment. And if it is, it's all old and junky.
Right.
So
Right.
it barely can run.
No, we don't have a pull tractor. That'd
Okay.
be cool, but I don't.
Yeah,
have
I
the
just didn't
knowledge.
know if like on those like the Rowan tractor pull where you just essentially get out your stock tractor.
Oh no, I'm talking like NTPA.
Oh, you're going to the big
yeah,
stuff.
the big girls. Yeah.
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 Okay. Why are they girls?
I don't know. I say big.
I mean,
girls
just
a
the
lot.
way you said it, you know, like
big
they're
girls.
big girls out there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And just, I mean, we just drive in the tractor. That's our hobby, you know,
Yeah.
farming.
Keegan's already driving the big 4-wheel drive tractor.
Yeah.
You know, he told me the other day I'm going to drive the combine and you sit in the buddy seat. And I'm like, I don't know if I like that idea. But
So, like, was that your dream to grow up and be a farmer?
yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Yep.
So did you seek out like on Farmers Only a farmer's
No,
girl so you could get that?
So
or-
I guess you'll get a 2-for-1 here. But in high school, I think I was a sophomore, and her older sister Kayla said, "Hey, you know, Dad could probably use some help on the farm if you're interested in helping." And I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, sure."
because you were dating her older sister.
No. We were just friends.
Okay.
And so I'm like, well, I mean, you know, Grandpa was still farming, so
Yeah.
I didn't know how that looked for sure. But I went and talked to Kyle, and he's like, yeah, start tomorrow. We're gonna go over here to this field. And I'm like, okay.
Wow.
So I mean, but he knew Grandpa and knew
Yeah.
that I'd help farm and whatever. And I don't know. How long was it? She said from day one, you know, when she saw me on the farm, like, I gotta
She's
have
like,
it.
oh,
right?
yeah.
Gotta have it.
Gotta have it.
But yeah, so yeah, that's kind of how we met. I mean, essentially.
Yeah, we actually dated in 2010 for a couple months, and we broke up, and we actually didn't talk to each other for probably 2.5 years.
While you were working for him?
Yeah, he worked there the whole time, and I didn't talk to him.
Kyle's pretty awesome, to be honest with you.
No, I know, but you just broke up with his
I know,
daughter.
I understand. I understand.
Yeah.
Like, did you go to Kyle and say, "Get rid of that little sucker"?
We had a little conversation, but
She was not thrilled.
I was not thrilled about it, but it was fine. We both had to grow up a little bit, you know, and my parents went on a missions trip in, what year? Was it 2011 or 2012? I think
don't
it was
know.
2012.
Yeah.
So my parents went on a missions trip, and I had to contact him because he was the person plowing the snow in our driveway, and I had to go to work. And I was like, I have to get a hold of him so I can go to work. And so just like we started becoming best friends, and like it was very natural. It wasn't like we just became really good friends. And then it was like, hey, let's date again. And we dated for 3 years. And yeah, so then we got married.
Yeah, so let's talk about just for a second. So for the younger generation that's going to be watching, what did you learn from your first dating experience that you changed in your second dating experience? So for people that are out there dating, like what was the stuff that's like, this is just a deal breaker and it's not going to work, and what did you change that you could come back together? Because it is somewhat odd that someone dates and breaks up for that long and then get back together and get married. So what was it that needed to be fixed, or what is it that you changed, or what do you think changed in you individually?
I'd say I was just immature still. Like, just needed to grow up in general. And, like, yeah, of course, there's all kinds of other things that we could get into there.
Because
But
how old were you the first time you started dating? You probably were like 15, 16.
yeah, something like that.
You
Yeah.
were how old?
15 or 16.
Okay.
Yeah, I was a junior, senior in
You were a
high
senior?
school.
Yeah.
So,
So
yeah.
17, 18. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I would just say it was probably like too early, or maybe we didn't even know what we wanted from one another, maybe,
Okay.
you know?
Yeah, I'd say about the same. Like it just, a lot of growing up just in general. And
I was the first boy she ever dated.
Okay.
yep,
So then did you date after him?
a little bit, but not a ton. No, like
Yeah.
it was very short and not significant at all.
And for you?
He was actually engaged to another girl.
Wow.
Yeah, that kind of went off the rails. It's probably for the best. I mean, let's be honest, probably for the best. But yeah, so,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I was just, again, for people who are dating, you know, when you finally got to that place, what were you looking for in each other that would be like, yeah, we're getting married because they fulfilled this?
I feel like the biggest thing was just becoming best friends.
Okay.
Like completely changed everything. It was just, it wasn't even that we were wanting to, like, it wasn't even that I was contacting him to be like, let's date again. It was like, hey, I need to contact you. And then we just started just becoming really good friends. And
Yeah.
so when you find somebody that you're best friends with, it just merges so much better.
And for me, it was like somebody that understands my career.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Understands
Like-
farming.
Yeah, in spring and fall, you're going to work
Yeah.
15, 16, 17 hours. You're not going to be around a lot. But come, midsummer or winter,
Right.
you're going to be home a lot. And so a lot of other ladies didn't understand that. Like,
Right.
they had no idea.
Right.
And so, I mean, she was a farmer's daughter, so she
Got it.
She got it.
So when your kids are growing up, so dating experience from what you experienced to what you're going to train your kids to do. Because the whole idea of, it's outdated, but the whole courting, right, is the idea is that you're friends before you get together. But that tends to be, we're in more of the try before you buy,
Right.
and not really like get to be friends. So, I mean, will you encourage your kids as they get older, or even people that you're talking to that are maybe still not married, would you encourage that for them, is to be friends before you start dating?
Oh, 100%.
Same. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Okay. Sorry, I'm just curious.
No.
Those things are interesting to me because I think the whole dating process now is so set up for failure.
Yeah, for
Like,
sure.
in
I would
so
agree.
many different ways, and I think it causes so much damage. Even because I think a lot of people just think, oh, it's not a big deal, but I think that it can cause a lot more harm than good sometimes to date around, try a bunch of different things, bunch of different people, get,
Right.
find the right one. Because I don't even know if I believe that. Do you believe that there's just one out there?
Eric will kill me. I
No, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Because
I mean,
some people
no,
are
do
paralyzed
I think
by
that?
that
No,
idea.
I don't. I think, I can't say there's a bunch of people out there, but I think, you see it time and time again, people lose somebody or something happens and they do find another mate that is perfect for them. So yeah, I think there can be multiple people. The world's huge. So
Nick? Is there just one special one out there, or is it like, hey, find one that you can figure out life with?
No, I think it's one you choose. I think there's more than one. I think it's just who you choose to spend your days with.
Yeah. Because I think the problem even in marriage today is that the idea is that you can even find the one, but if you don't work on it for the rest of your relationship, they ain't the one at some point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that idea that if you just get married and it's just all going to be okay if you don't work all the way from the time you start to the time you end. I mean, yeah, I mean, at some point, the one that was the one and so good at some point isn't so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's a whole nother subject, but
No, you're good. You're fine. We talk about that. So, I guess childhood memory. What's your favorite thing growing up as a child?
Go ahead.
I guess it would just be farming with my dad. Like I wasn't farming, but just like being with him, and I would ride around in the truck with him, and just riding in the combine. I would always fall asleep on the floor, like in the truck. When they would take grain to the elevator, I would always end up curling up on the floor and falling asleep. But it was just like a safe place for me to hang out with him and his farmer hand at the time when I was growing up. So. Yeah.
Cool.
I'm going to have to say farming, or my dad was an over-the-road truck driver. So
Oh,
during
really?
the summers, like we would go, all over the place.
Like sleep in the sleeper
yeah.
part too?
Yeah. Like be
Wow.
gone for like a week at a time kind of thing.
Huh. Did he have a normal run?
Yeah. At that time, no.
Okay.
No, it was just kind of wherever. And like we didn't even know like tomorrow where we were going kind of thing.
They just kind of radio in and say go to.
Right.
Huh,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah. So no, it's a good time. So I've seen a lot of the country just that way.
Yeah, through
So,
truck.
Yeah. Yeah. But when I was 3, I rode in a tractor for 13 straight hours with my grandpa, and my mom came to get me, and I'm like, I'm not leaving, kind of thing, So, yeah, but
It's so funny what the farming lifestyle like that, because I can even remember, and we weren't big farmers, of like, you go out and you're farming with your dad, and then the wife brings out the food, and you all sit together out in the field, and what? Oh, I thought you were laughing because I said the wife brings the food.
And I've done that. So
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's
Yeah.
so cool. Like isn't it weird that that's just something that means something, like you remember
my
it.
grandma did that, and like I'm talking like awesome meals in
Yeah.
the field, not just like ham sandwich. Like it was like meatloaf and potatoes and green
Right.
beans and
Yeah.
like even soapy water to wash your hands. Like I mean, you know what I mean? Like she was awesome.
Yeah.
She was.
I just think those memories are cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what did faith look like growing up then? So, especially if you're with your dad, I don't know how long you were in a semi with him, if it was just in the summertime, was it many
Right.
years? But what did faith look like then growing up?
So we went to church at East Allen County Church of Christ, and we even went to South Broadway out here. I mean, up until Jordan and I got married, that's where I went. And then we got married and we attended Nazarene Church, and then COVID, of course, and had kids. And so then we started watching Life Church online. We watched for 2 years.
1.5, 2 years, yeah.
Yeah, online. And then finally last January, it was just like, we just need to go to Life Church. And yeah, like we went and we're like, yeah, that's where we're going.
Yeah. So was it always was it always a really important part, or were you always like,
Oh yeah, I mean it was Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night.
Right.
Like I mean, yeah, we went to church.
no, I meant for you personally, like not just going. Was it like, hey, I want to pick a wife someday that faith is going to be an important part?
Right.
Is
Yeah,
it-
for sure.
Good.
For sure.
I would have to echo that just to go so I don't forget your question.
Yeah.
I think growing up, it was very much like going to church slightly determined where you ended up. And I don't know if that was like something that was taught to me in church, or if that was just because my rule following mentality that I had growing up. I don't know. And so I went all the time. But it was very important to me and a big part of my life. We started out and I went to Church of Christ in Markle. And then we switched to the Nazarene church, and I went there for years until we switched to here. But yeah, it was always a very big part of like who I was. People always knew that I had Jesus. I followed Jesus. I was considered the goody two shoes just because I didn't like to cuss. I didn't like to do any of those things. And people wouldn't invite me to things just because they knew I would say no because she follows Jesus. And I would say Jesus saved me a lot. I struggled with a lot of anxiety. I had depression and just various things growing up. And so Jesus has always just been God has been very big in my life. And then just, it changes then when you're married and like you want to grow. And I've even seen like, since we've came here, such a shift in him, listening to you, listening to Taylor, like, and that makes me grow more too. So,
I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
I mean, I was rough around the edges sometimes, you know, growing up. But I mean, what teenage boy isn't? I mean, we started it off with a bang with the podcast. You know what I mean? So, I mean,
Literally.
yeah. So, yeah, I mean, but, you know, Jesus definitely was always in your mind and
Right.
you know, in your heart. So.
Right. But I do think that, and again, I don't know from a like where you're at spiritually, where you were at, but I do think it's cool that, you know, like when you're sharing as you're growing, you know, that helps you grow, that it goes back to that whole idea. Like, it is really important for the man to step up and grow and not just be passive in like, yeah, we're going to go to church, like, or we're just going to attend, but no, I'm going to grow. I'm going to lead. I'm going to,
And I've learned a lot of that, or whatever you want to say, from you, like, of what that looks like or what that should look like.
yeah. And I just think that's cool because it doesn't just affect you. And I guess that's the big thing. I think the thing that people miss sometimes, it's not just a personal journey, especially for a man in a marriage, or even what it's going to be for your kids someday.
Right.
To see dad take interest, to learn to grow in his faith, to learn to be the leader of the family. Like, I think that's undersold of how important that is in a marriage.
For sure.
You know, for
Yeah.
people. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So who was the most like influential person in that journey for you?
My grandpa, 100%. Yep. So I mean, he was an elder of the church. He, you know, read his Bible every morning. I mean, and we were together every day. So just the way he carried himself.
Yeah, so
you know
by
what I mean?
example.
Yeah, for sure.
That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. You, Jordan?
I don't know that there was one specific person. I would think I would say that it was just different stages of my life. God put specific people in my life for that time or for that struggle, or put a specific friend in there in my stage of life for that specific time. You know, it just has grown, and yeah, I don't know that there's one specific person.
Do you see like your age group of people around, not even necessarily close to you, but the people that you know that are your age and married, is faith really important to them? I mean, do you see in your generation where it is like important for the man to step up and lead, important for a family to be in church, important for those things to happen? Because it just seems like that keeps declining.
Right. I think our generation thinks it's the woman's job a lot of the time to do, you know, be the leader, you know, do this, do that kind of thing. So that's what I think.
I personally believe that our generation is going through a huge deconstructing faith. A lot of people probably grew up like us, or like they're just seeing life differently. I don't know. I've just noticed a ton of people, they just completely deconstruct the evangelical side of faith, and or like whatever faith they grew up with, or maybe they didn't have a faith, but they still are very like anti. But even if they did have it, it just is very like, I'm very all about themselves still, like a very self-centered lifestyle.
Yeah, so are there things in society, in church, because this is something that I've been praying about for a lot of years. In fact, I mean, we're still thinking about it as a church, is the that your generation and younger, I mean, is in decline when it comes to being a vital part of faith, right? And not even vital, like not even going to church and not even, a part of that. And so, we're getting to that point where you're one generation away from extinction, and so I'm always processing what are some of those societal things that are deconstructing faith? What's happening in the church? Like that's the other part of it is that what's happening inside of the church that young people aren't being challenged or young people aren't being like, in your opinion, like what are some of those things that are deconstructing or what are some of those things that aren't happening in the church that aren't? Or maybe it's none of that. Like just what are your thoughts?
I think it's like mixture of things. Like there's church hurt or like people, a lot of people look at people that go to church and think that they're very two-faced, like they don't see our church. Like our church is very unique in its way and not that's what like our church is good. But I'm just saying like a lot of churches don't operate like this, very corporation operated, and people don't like that anymore.
Is that where the hurt comes from?
Yes.
Where does church hurt come from?
I think so. I think it comes from that. I think it comes from various things. There's
Rude grandma, rude grandpa.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
like
I don't know.
I think it varies. I think sometimes it's the pastor. Like there's something wrong. So, there's infidelity. Sometimes there's like issues with sexual abuse. Like things happen, but it's just like what happens is it gets brushed under the rug, and then people just are like, I can't believe that's a church. Like, and they just act like there's nothing wrong with those people, or it's like a very, you go to church, so you're stuck up, and it's like, that's not what church is about,
Right.
Like people just lose the focus, and so you get the church hurt from the person, you don't get church hurt from Jesus,
Right.
but people blur the lines and think it's all the same.
Yeah, for sure.
I would agree.
What about things in society that are deconstructing faith?
I mean, there's just so many people on social media
Yeah,
that
social
are
media.
So that's where it's happening.
Yeah.
Like people are just deconstructing because of what they're seeing, what
Yeah.
they're
I
viewing.
think so. Yeah.
so many people who know it all and have all the information, and then we're a generation of soaking up the social media, and so we just take it and run with it, and that's what's golden.
Right.
I feel like you don't even know what's true or not on social media, it seems like.
Yeah, so you're going to be a perfect specimen now for my whole. No, think about this because this is what Nick and I talk about all the time. So, social media can be bad.
Yeah.
Social media can be good, right?
Yeah.
Because obviously you're using your social media platform to move things in the right direction, right? Or to help people move things in the right direction.
Yeah, I try to. Yeah.
Right. So what's going to be the line for your kids growing up? Are they going to have social media? What should be the line for people? Because because this is the dilemma, right? So where is that? Do we just trust that they're going to find the right people? Do we just trust that if people are going to get on there, that social media isn't going to influence them in the wrong way? Because again, if you think about what Nick has put together from an online platform or what, the construct of what social media can be used for, we have seen lots of people because they watched online, lots of people because they scrolled through on Facebook,
Yeah.
lots of people because they got a clip on TikTok, or lots of people. So there are things that you can say in people's story. Like this is a part of their story. I started watching online. I saw this on social media.
Yeah.
And because of those things, I came to church, met Christ, or furthered my walk with Christ, or I'm further along in my walk with Christ, and things are great. And then you hear these horror stories of, I was on social media and I'm addicted to social media and I can't get off. So what is your thoughts? What's the balance and how does that work?
Yeah, I hope they never have social media. I didn't have Facebook until what? And then we just share an account.
Yeah.
And I don't post anything. And I'm like so close to wanting to delete Facebook.
Okay.
'cause I didn't. just all the negativity.
So
And, like,
you're saying regardless if the platform can have influence or not, you're like done with it.
personally, yes.
Okay.
I guess this isn't something we've actually talked about before. And it is kind of important. I'm also a person like, I'm not there yet, so I'm not going to think about it.
Sure.
But it does need to be talked about because it is important. And you don't want your children to just all of a sudden be exposed to it and then insist that they need it. Like my son already thinks he needs to be playing Xbox and he's 4 years old. You know what I mean? So it is
It's
something.
Farm Simulator.
No, hey, listen. Ethan has Farm Simulator.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
he plays that. Yeah.
So I would say like high school or maybe later because it's very important. Like not important. It's very influential. Like little girls' health is declining because of that. Like people look at these perfect lives and I guess I'll just give you like an instance. There's this person I follow and they've had their life together. They show you these pictures, these videos, and you just think that they have this wonderful life and then they're getting a divorce. And I was just like you wouldn't know that. People share what they want to share to make their lives wonderful looking. And that messes with people. And I don't know that I want my children to be exposed to that because it affects your mental health so bad. Like I've had to be careful myself because of having the platform that I have. Like you have to have a balance and you have to be careful or you just get so sucked in.
Yeah, so here's another question for you. So people that don't know Jesus in a younger generation, so they consume most of their information through social media. So
Yes.
if they don't have it, how are we going to reach them? How do we reach? What, is that a bad question?
No, it's a
No,
fair,
I'm
that's
just
a fair
listening to
point.
you.
I mean, I'm just curious because again, these things have just been running through my head over and over and over again. Because, again, for me personally, the whole social media thing, I can see Nick's point. Like it's the both and, but I can also, I don't care that much about it to get too sucked in. But I can see how it can be the other way. But if we're saying because for you have an advantage. So you are church-going people who are going to raise their kids in church and they can have a platform.
Yeah.
Right? So they wouldn't have to have social media and they can know about Christ or they can see other kids' families or they're going to get an opportunity. What about this generation? Because this isn't just a few kids anymore. So now it's a generation of young people that are not exposed to anything. How do we reach them?
Well, that's, I mean, that's hard because it's going to have to be social media. Like, if they have nothing, they most likely are already on it. So, but the thing that's difficult is algorithms target people. There's specific algorithms that are on social media, on TikTok, on Instagram, and they will target these children and these people specifically to what they're already interested in. And if they're already interested in bad things, they're only going to ever see bad things. So that's where it's hard. You got to, I mean, you just got to pray for them. Like, I don't, because otherwise they're just, because, sorry, they can have really good influence on social media if they find those accounts that.
Right. But you're saying based upon the algorithms, it's going to be hard for them to find them.
It can be, yes.
Most likely.
Interesting.
Yeah, I would agree.
Okay. Well, we can all be praying together because
Yeah.
it's a focus of Life Church to get this figured out. Because I don't think you can do church as normal. Like I don't think you can just continue to go down the road and just be a better church and reach that generation. I just don't think that's. I think some things have to be blown up and changed and like some real. I mean, you're talking about. I don't know if you said it here, but even earlier, the idea of discipleship, like the idea of how discipleship's going to have to change.
Yeah.
Because today, the way discipleship works is a kid ends up in church, and that kid gets discipled through church or through people. But what about the people that aren't going to end up there? So what are families going to have to do from a discipleship standpoint to go out because they're no longer coming in? You know, and what is that going to look like? Because it's going to take young families, right? I mean, it's going to take young families because you have the influence that the old people don't, right? We don't have I don't have kids that are younger, or I don't have that platform of people that I'm just going to normally be around. So I just think that's something that's going to be good for us all to pray about. Because I mean, as we go back and forth, we know social media has a great platform. We know that people usually view before they ever come, and that people usually have a viewing experience before a personal experience. That seems completely weird to me, but that seems to be the norm now. Like, I'm going to watch before, I'm going to experience before in a safer environment before I ever come from there. So, anyway, stuff we can be praying or thinking about. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Do you have any other questions for them before we?
Oh, I mean, I have. Just keep going.
I just wanted to. So one of the things we wanted to talk about was Matt's dad, and the health situation that he was in, and then kind of the miracle that happened through that. So I guess you just start telling us your story.
All right. So my first date is I think it was June 12th. We got planting done. So
Of 2023?
Yeah,
Just last year?
2023. Sorry. We got planting done, so it was kind of like, hey, let's go to Tennessee. Most of the time, we like to go to Gatlinburg, Pigeon Forge area, and he lives real close to there, so we can kind of do a double there, go down and see him, and kind of have a vacation both at the same time. It was strictly vacation this time. Went down, had vacation, saw him, hey, how are you? Hugs, went out to eat kind of thing. Did our vacation, came home. It was a week or two later, and I remember this very vividly. I'm standing at Crossroads, because we go to Crossroads gas station for lunch almost every day. But I'm standing there in line, getting ready to pay for food, and phone rings, and it's my dad. Well, my dad doesn't normally call me, and when he calls me, there's a reason for the phone call. And he says, hey, just so you know, I went to the doctor, haven't been feeling well, and haven't been feeling well since Memorial Day. I'm like, Memorial Day?
We were
we
just
were
there.
just there, and you didn't say anything about not feeling well. And so that turned out to be pneumonia, and gave him antibiotics, and that cleared up, but he wasn't feeling great still.
Super downhill from there.
Yeah, pretty well. So got pneumonia. I want to say, believe it was in July.
You got your dates on your phone? You want to get your phone out?
Oh.
Get your cheat sheet out, Matt. There you go. Okay.
Okay.
You prepared it.
You have notes.
Yeah.
I do. Yeah, I'm prepared, man.
That's seriously
Yeah.
impressive.
Yeah, see, I was right.
See, you're rubbing off on me. He's trying to be organized.
Middle of July, he still wasn't feeling good, and he started having night sweats really bad, to the point of change your clothes, change your sheets, kind of night sweats, and still couldn't figure it out. My dad's old school, and so a pot of coffee a day was the norm for him. And one morning he, drank his coffee like normal, and he switched, and he was working construction now, and got to the job site and just unloaded all his coffee, just puked it all up. That's a red flag, right? So then, still middle of July, he started to get a knot right here on his chin. And he's like, it's not going away. It doesn't hurt, but it's not going away. So ended up, he went to ENT, and they wanted to do a biopsy. All right, see if it is cancer or whatever. Well, they didn't take enough at that time, and it came back, nothing's wrong, don't even know what it is, kind of thing. Okay. So, actually, then we went back to Tennessee August the 9th, right? And he came over to our cabin this time, and you could just tell, he just didn't feel good, and he didn't look great, and it looked like he was starting to lose weight, and his breathing was, really labored. And she would take the kids and put them to nap, and we would just sit on the couch and talk. Well, he ended up falling asleep, and you could just see his breathing, you're like, oh my goodness, like this is awful. So at that time, he weighed around 150 pounds. Like, it's just what he weighed. I mean, he's not a huge guy. So yeah, he weighed 150 pounds at that time. We went back home from that vacation, and he had mid-August, he went to the lung doctor because he couldn't breathe very well. They drained a liter of fluid from your lungs, around your lungs. I'm not sure if it was in or around. A liter of fluid, drained it off. He felt a lot better, could breathe, but still had the knot and whatever. So he was very adamant about going back to ENT and getting a bigger sample of this knot. And the doctor is like, I don't really want to do this. Like, we can hit a nerve in your face and it'll droop, for the rest of your life. Well, Dad's like, I don't care. Like, I don't feel good. Like, I'll take that risk, kind of thing.
So in this time, I mean, are you thinking, hey, something's worse? Like, are you encouraging him? Like, or is he already like, hey, I want to go to the doctor?
At this point, he was like, yeah, something's wrong.
Okay.
And it was like he knew he had cancer, because he's like, just tell me I have cancer, like, and let's get this going. Like, let's just tell me I have cancer and let's figure out how we're going to deal with it, kind of thing. And so then, once he said that, it's like, this might really be cancer.
So how did that, I mean, were you at that point like, oh my gosh, like I could...
Yes and no. So he smoked for a long time, like 30 plus years. So it wasn't like shocking if he was going to have cancer, just from the studies, you know what I mean? So, so it was like, oh yeah, you're going to have cancer. Like, it's going to be a no big deal kind of thing. You know what I mean?
So like a no big deal cancer.
Right. Okay. Whatever that is.
You know what I mean? Just saying,
Right.
like at this point, you're not thinking like I could lose my dad.
Right, not at all.
Not yet. No.
Yeah.
No. Like, something serious is wrong, but I don't think we're going to lose him at this point. So he came up for NHRA, Labor Day weekend.
Yep.
Went down, watched the drag races. We never went there before, but at this time, enough had happened. He lost enough weight. We saw enough decline. It was like, we should probably do something. Like, I'm sure that's not somebody's first, hey, let's go to NHRA if this is going to be our last hurrah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But that's what we did. We never went. So my brother and I and my dad, we went down. And, of course, you have to park kind of far away and walk to your seats and whatever. Well, by the time we got to our seats, I mean, he was really out of breath and really labored. So we got up to our seats, sat down, watched the, what do I want to call them? Those smaller hot rods, I guess, before you get to the top fuel dragsters and stuff.
Yeah, pro stock.
Yeah. So I don't know if you've ever been, but like you feel that in your chest,
it's
right?
when the top fuel runs.
Yeah. It's awesome.
Vibrates right
Yeah,
through you.
yeah. Well, it's all good and well for me. And then I look over and he's like, "Oh, I don't know if I can do this." And I'm like, "Oh man, I didn't even think of that kind of thing." Like,
Because the fumes of the nitro is bad too.
well, yeah, the
You know,
fumes,
the
but
fall of
it was more because he was already having lung chest issues.
yeah,
You know what I mean,
right.
and just feeling that. But he toughed it out. We didn't stay all day, but we stayed till 5 o'clock. So we saw several run. But when it got too bad, we just kind of like got out of the stands, kind of thing,
Yeah.
and it went back up. And we went there, saw what we wanted to. It was a good time, and we came back home. He was staying with us at our house, and again, he was just really out of breath and losing weight, and just really bony at this point, like lost that much weight. And I didn't realize it. She did. When he went to say goodbye, he got pretty teary-eyed, I guess. And it was like,
And
man,
he doesn't cry
he
ever.
doesn't
And I
cry.
was just
Yeah.
like, he's really sick for
He's
him
really
to get
sick,
really
and
upset
he
like
knows
that.
something really bad's happening, right? So he went back home, got the bigger biopsy, tested it, was cancer. But whether they didn't tell him or they didn't know what kind of cancer it was at that point, just, you have cancer. Okay, awesome, we got our answer, you know, like, got cancer. Okay, so what are we going to do to treat this kind of thing? So on September the 25th, he had a cancer doctor appointment. So we went back to Tennessee for the third time and met with this cancer doctor. And he wasn't really supposed to have, they initially set it up for October the 2nd. And he actually, got ahead of myself, he actually went back to the lung doctor the second time and they drained another liter of fluid off. He also got his first CT scan done, and the lung doctor saw that, and it was just lit up, like cancer all over his body. And his lung doctor actually called the cancer doctor and was like, look, like, he's not going to wait till the second. Like, you got to get him in. It was a week sooner, but I mean,
Yeah, for sure.
it was a week. So September the 25th, Monday, we went, saw the cancer doctor. He weighed in at 128 pounds.
Oh my gosh.
And so her name is Dr. Wheeler. And she was very compassionate, but very straight to the point and blunt. She says, you have double hit non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. We're like, okay, what is this? Best I can tell you, it has to do with your DNA. And when your DNA breaks, I guess this kind of cancer can spread like crazy. And that's what it was. She explained to us, it's like a car going down the road 1 mile an hour or 100 miles an hour. And he was 100 miles an hour. And it has, I personally think he had cancer right when the knot started. You know, so we're talking like mid-July.
Right.
And if it's that fast growing, like,
Right.
we've wasted a lot of time. So double hit non-Hodgkin's lymphoma is only 5% of it's a B cell lymphoma. So that is only 5%, like, that you get this kind of cancer. And the survival rate is 20 to 30%. So very, very good appointment, but very, oh crap appointment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we've wasted all this time. He really doesn't feel good. He can't work, you know, because he has no energy. Everything hurts. Yeah, it was bad.
Right.
And so we get done at the doctor appointment, and it's Monday, and I'm like, we're getting ready to start harvest Tuesday. I'm like, I got to go home. Like, I want to stay here. My family needs to go home. We don't have enough clothes. Keegan's in school. Like, we got to go home.
Right.
I mean, he understood that. But that was hard. That was hard.
Yeah.
And like,
Because he's by himself down there?
yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Okay.
So we're just standing in the parking lot, hugging and crying. You know, like, we never had that before. You know, so it was weird and good at the same time, and it just made it really hard to come home. And then all harvest, knowing I'm exhausted. Of course, it's harvest time, but knowing in the back of your mind, he's down there fighting cancer essentially by himself. Like, ugh. You
Yeah.
know, like, it was awful.
So, not to interrupt you, but
Yep.
does he have a church family, people that surround him?
No.
Okay.
No. So I'm going to say his early, like, teenage years, they went to church.
Yeah.
But other than that, I'm going to say it, God or faith wasn't probably number one.
Sure.
Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Now, after all this, it's 100% number one.
Yeah, for sure. But you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
at those points,
Right.
there's an emptiness, and then there's a real
Right.
emptiness
Yep.
when,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. So before we even left the hotel, he called, said, "Hey, they're getting me in 8 o'clock tomorrow morning." And you're like, "Oh crap! Like, this is definitely
Yeah.
serious," and they know how serious it is. So did all the fun things, the bone marrow, the lumbar punctures. He didn't do the ports the first round. So, labs, all that fun stuff. Started, he was on his second bag, and his heart rate went to 30. Just went to 30. And they're like, oh, shoot, So they stopped chemo and called I think it was the on-call heart doctor for the hospital, called him up, and they're like, hey, we need to stop this heart medicine that he's on. Well, it went so low, and then it got so irregular that they had to shock his heart back in to rhythm. So they just stopped chemo for 24 hours. His heart rate came back up to, I guess, a safe or normal level. Started chemo again, finished that first round just fine, essentially.
Right.
And then got home, and the mouth sores happened. Like, can't eat anything, hard to even swallow kind of thing. So he's eating pudding, and by now he's weighing 120 pounds, 115 pounds, So just awful. So he was home 2-3 days, and the mouth sores were so bad he couldn't eat, just hurt. So he went back to the hospital. And they kept him there for 2 weeks. They kept him until his next treatment. So then he was essentially gone like 2.5 weeks from home.
The doctor admitted that she didn't know how he lived past October.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, Dr. Wheeler was like, I'm surprised he made it past October. So what would have happened if he went to that October 2nd?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We missed that week.
Right.
Who knows?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And then he started calling. So all of this is happening, and he started calling the cancer treatment. The cancer treatment is called Red Devil chemo. He started calling it Jesus' blood.
Oh,
And
wow.
we just saw such a switch in him financially, in his faith. Like he was talking about Jesus all the time, and he just was never like that before. And I was like, this is crazy. But all the same time, we're like gearing up, like he's going to pass away. Like that's how we were mentally and physically preparing.
Especially when I was like, his heart rate went to 30.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, geez, he's not even going to make it out of this first treatment.
Yeah.
Like, and here I am back at home.
So do you think that like the trigger, obviously getting sick does some things to you, but so you grew up, it wasn't number one. And then so just kind of on his own, it's like, I'm going to rekindle, or was there somebody down there? Was it because of you guys of, hey, like,
There
Dad,
was one person that prayed with him, but I think it was just a cumulative of like, I'm alone, like I'm dying, like, and people are starting to pray for me and people care for me. And we never actually heard straight from him what it was that changed, but you just see such a shift in him so much.
Yeah. So it was his boss's wife. Her name is Robin. So she took him to all the appointments.
Right.
She was awesome. She's a real estate agent in Tennessee. So kind of a flexible schedule, but still have things to do. And I think she had a come to Jesus kind of thing with my dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the hospital.
Yeah.
And I think it flipped the switch.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think that's a fear for a lot of people is that, so when somebody gets sick and you don't really know where they're at with their faith, I think there's always this fear to just have the come to Jesus talk. Like,
Right.
hey,
Yeah.
you don't know.
Right.
I mean, it's going to come, might turn out good, might not turn out good, but have you thought about this? Like, I
Right.
think
Yeah.
sometimes that's a hard
And
for
I
people to
envision
do.
that's how that conversation went. Like,
Yeah.
hey, you know Jesus, right? Because this could go sideways real fast.
Yeah, and I think that's just a perfect example of, like, sometimes I think we have to have those hard conversations of just like, where are you?
Right.
Like, just tell me where you're at. And those are the times where people are most open, in those times where you're like broken and,
Right.
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So his second treatment, he went in, they put the port in, lumbar puncture, all the things again. One thing Dr. Wheeler said in the office, we'll do another CT scan after round 3, see where we're at with the chemo and, the cancer and all that. So, you go, well, hopefully this chemo works you know, I expect a result of, hey, tumors are shrinking, you know, everything's good. So Jordan's birthday is December 2nd. So December the 6th, we are sitting at Texas Roadhouse and, you know, was focused on her birthday, you know, knew that he was having the scan, didn't know when. Again, phone rings, it's him, like, got to answer it, you know. And he says, my cancer's gone. I'm like, dude, it's loud in Texas Roadhouse. Like, what do you mean your cancer's gone? And he's like, there is no cancer. And I'm like, so you're saying, like, so many thoughts went through my mind at that time. Like,
Right.
like, how is this possible? Like, did they get the wrong test result? You know what I mean? Did they scan the wrong person? Like,
Right.
what happened here? And yeah, it was just, my cancer's gone. And it was just like, you could sense the relief in him, you know, like, my cancer's gone. Like, that's awesome. That's great. That's what we all wanted.
Right.
Like, but how do you explain that?
Right.
I 100% think that was God.
Right.
Like, I mean, God gave chemo, right? But I think his hands were 100% on that situation. And it was just like, wow, like, prayer works. Like, I don't know how many people were praying for him, but a lot of people were praying for him.
Right.
And you go, wow, like, kind of like a, oh my, like, that even woke me up. Like, prayer does work. Like,
Yeah, and so explain, how did it affect his faith? So talk a little bit about that. And then the other part of it is always, how does it affect those who are praying? You know, whether it's you guys or the people around you. So,
well, I know my mom went down, even though they're divorced. She took my brother down, and they went down. And from what I understand, he asked for a Bible. Like,
Wow.
I want a Bible. And so we got him a Bible, and I'm pretty sure he reads it daily. You
Yeah.
know?
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I think for us, it was just really like, it took us a while. We were in so much shock of like, because we were so prepared to get, like, I was mentally prepared to get the call on a daily basis because of how sick he was. And it was like really messing with my mental health because I was just like he's dying. And I have to prepare myself because I have to prepare my children. Like,
Yeah.
they're going to be devastated by this. And so I was just holding on to all of that. And I was just like, you hear about miracles, but when they affect you, like, you personally, you're just like, what just happened? And I had many conversations with God about it, and God told me he was dying, and so I was like, I know he's dying. Like, we were on the same page. We knew he was dying, and I believe that God gives people second chances, and there was like a Holy Spirit moment with him. And it was even a conversation that I had with Erica and Taylor of like, we need to pray for the intervention of the Holy Spirit. And so we just all prayed together. And I believe that it was like, he had to choose. And if it was almost like God testing him. Like, I don't know, maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, but this is how it feels to me of like, he had to choose, I'm going to change my life. And I'm going to give you, God was like, this is your second chance. And if he wouldn't, would it be done? I have no idea, but it was just like, you just look back and you're just like, only God, only God.
Right.
I remember one of the trips before we went, was it before the cancer?
Yeah.
We were at Taylor and Erica's house, and we were getting ready to leave, and
Oh, yes.
he was like, can I pray? I'm like, absolutely. So we stood in this kitchen, like, just in a circle, and he prayed,
Yeah.
and it was just like, bring tears to your eyes.
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
thing. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so awesome. So thankful for their friendship.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
And I think that's the thing that sometimes we forget is prayer can change things, you know, and, you know, I think that there have been enough people that have been discouraged in prayer,
Yeah.
you know, because you have prayed for it and it per se didn't work.
Yeah.
And so I think we forget, but prayer does change things, you know, and there is evidence of when God's people come together, when they come together and fast and pray, when that God alters things that only would be altered. I mean, that's what he says. Like, these things happen because you prayed. And I think that's just I think it's that back to what's one thing that needs to happen to reach the younger generation. Like, we should be on our knees praying that God alters things, because that's the missing link too, is that God's going to have to really intervene in amazing ways to alter the course of where so many people are going. So I think it's such a great testimony to, like, even though it seems defeated and dark and preparing ourselves for the worst, that God can, through the power of prayer, change things.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's awesome.
So they still wanted to do the last 3 treatments to do 6 total treatments. So they did that, and Tennessee got a 3-inch snowstorm, so they had to cancel or reschedule his last chemo treatments. And so on January 26th, he rang the cancer-free bell.
Wow, that's
And
awesome.
today is his first day driving dump truck.
Oh, really? So he's back and
He's
healthy.
back.
And
Yeah.
That's
Well, I mean, he doesn't have a lot of strength, but I mean, this is going to be a start of getting out of the house, starting to move the body. You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
it's going to take a while to get his strength back.
Right.
You know, like, I mean, he weighed 108 pounds at his lowest. And
Yeah,
right now,
that's-
I just talked to him last night, and he says, "Well, I have all my clothes on, and I weigh 118 pounds." I'm like, wow,
Oh, yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
But when he got done with his chemo, he was just so swelled up. He's like, "I weighed 143 pounds."
Oh, really? From the chemo?
Yeah, yeah. And the
Wow.
steroids, everything just had him so swelled up. But
Yeah.
now all that's out, and he's back down
Right.
there.
Yeah.
But he's like, I eat like a horse. I'm like, you're gonna have to keep eating like a horse, because you need to bulk back up.
Yeah.
So,
That's
yeah.
such a cool testimony.
yeah. But yeah, it was just like, you pray so much, and then that happens, and you go like, how do we respond?
Right.
Like, what is the proper way to respond? I don't know.
Meaning to the miracle?
Yeah.
How did you respond?
I think I'm still like in shock over it.
Are you still leery? Are you thinking, well, maybe it really wasn't?
I knew he was going to watch this, but I'm afraid it's going to come back. I hope not. But yeah, there's still that in the back of my mind that this might not be over.
Right.
I want it to be over. Sorry, Dad. Like, you know, I
Yeah.
want this to be over.
Right.
But as aggressive as it is, they're going to check him regularly. They said every 3 months, or if you don't feel well, like at all, come to the doctor's office.
Yeah, but isn't the reality this? The reality is that not whether it does or doesn't come back. The miracle is the second chance. The miracle is the extra time. The miracle is the testimony of your faith. Like, that's the true miracle, because death's coming regardless. Whether
Sure.
cancer comes back, or dump
Natural.
trucks go off the road, or you know what I mean? Like, death is coming for all of us. But the testimony that you just gave, and the testimony of your father's faith,
Yeah.
in whatever amount of time he gets, you know, whether it does or doesn't, because it doesn't take away from the miracle that happened today.
Sure.
You know, and I think that's for all of us. Again, I think that's where we all think, like, we want to give credit to God, but then what if it comes back? Because then it wasn't really God. No, it's God in the moment.
Oh, yeah.
You
for
know,
sure.
not that you
I
were
still-
saying
right,
that,
right,
but I'm saying,
right.
do people do that? Like,
Oh,
it's
yeah,
hard to just say,
Right.
for this moment, God intervened and God did, and we're going to praise him, and we're going to take advantage of the next day and the next day and the next day and celebrate that he intervened, because it's obvious that's not normal.
Right.
I mean, that's obvious that the way that works is you don't just get
Right.
clean when you're that full of cancer.
Right.
So,
20 to 30% survival rate.
yeah, that's
You know
what I mean. I mean,
Like,
it doesn't usually happen like
Right.
that. So we can give credit of 4 second chances and extra time and opportunity, because now there's a testimony, and now there's a story, and now, again, how many people from that again, not how much longer he lives, but how many more people can come to Christ because of his story,
Sure.
and because of your faith, and because of the story that you guys are going to give. Like, I think that's even a bigger miracle.
Yeah.
Right.
Of like how many people are going to be impacted, how many people are going to be changed, how many people are going to be in the kingdom of heaven because of one miracle
Right.
Yeah.
of the things that
Sure.
he did. So,
Yeah. One
Yeah.
proven thing.
yeah.
So.
All right, so we're at the end, if you can believe, an hour
Awesome.
so far. So, any words of wisdom that you would give to young married couples, young adults, or just couples in general, whether it comes to walking your faith, living out your faith, like any wisdom that you would give to anybody watching or listening?
I think prayer is always super important, and then don't give up in prayer because it can feel like you're not heard sometimes. But as we know just from the story, like it's possible. And then the biggest other thing I would say is find you people who can support you in your faith and will lead you closer to God. Because if you don't have that, it's isolating and it can pull you backwards.
Yeah, good.
I want to say, like, don't force things. Like, if it doesn't feel right, don't force it to make it right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good. Well, so again, thanks for taking time. Thanks for sharing a part of your life and your story. Which service you guys come to?
First.
Okay, so if you're first service people, make sure you come up, say hi. I don't know where you sit. That's odd because I usually know where kind of everybody. Are you a move around type people?
Not really. It's the
Center
middle.
middle, towards the back.
More towards the far side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Okay. Yeah. But anyway, come up and say hi, get to know them, the great young couple. And so if you're listening, go onto our YouTube, make sure that you watch. It's a great way to get to know people because, again, the church is big enough. It's hard to get to know people sometimes. And if you're at different services, it's like two different churches, on that. And again, we just want to keep encouraging you guys in your faith and your journey. And we're just so thankful that you could come on and be a part of this. So once this comes out, make sure you like, comment, share. That gives us an opportunity to be able to get it out to other people on their timelines. And again, make sure that you come up and say hi if you get to see them in the service, whether it's first service or in between services. Since I run over, the second service is always seeing the first service,
It's a
inside
good
of
thing.
it.
It's
So,
a good thing.
yeah.
It's
So
kind of crowded out there.
yeah, I know. Yeah. So thanks everybody for joining us. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Thank you.